Hey guys, welcome back to another F123 video, the My Team Career Mode journey for Cross GT Racing. Getting close to the end of the season now. I think we're most of the way through season one. I would have liked to have been a lot further than I am now with F124 on the horizon, but unfortunately just haven't really had the time to really lock in and get the game, get through the game and get the videos completed. But we're going to keep pushing on anyway. We've been having a pretty good season so far. I think we're currently 5th in the constructors, just ahead of Aston Martin. The last race that we did was the Grand Prix in Qatar. First time racing that track. Pretty interesting sort of an experience racing that track for the first time. But the car seemed pretty well suited to this track. We were doing pretty well. We did qualify quite high. I think it was also a sprint weekend as well. So we had the sprint race, which I think we finished. I think it was like second or third. I think we qualified third. So pretty good run in the sprint. And when it came to the race, as you can see, we were battling with the guys up the front. I think it's Alonso there in the Aston Martin, and we were also battling with Red Bull. McLaren up there as well, going a bit wide off that corner. Ferrari in the mix as well, so quite a few teams battling it out at the front. Mercedes, as they have throughout most of the season, pretty much running away with this one. I think George Russell was leading the race for the most part. Lando Norris doing pretty well to get up the front as well. I think he qualified, finished second in the sprint, or third. I can't remember. It's actually a while since I made that video. But no, really good race from us. We did end up having a sprint right down to the line with Max. A good sort of last few laps battling with him. Unfortunately, he managed to best us before the line. We still walk away with a 4th place finish for that race, giving us some extra points in the constructors. So that will help heading towards next season. We're sitting in a pretty good spot at the moment in the constructors, and we should be able to get some good prize money at the end of season one. Guaranteed 6th place finish at this point. I don't think the team in 7th, I think it's Alpine. I don't think they are anywhere near being able to catch up to us. Even if I think maybe the only way they'd be able to get ahead of us would be 1-2 finish the next. We've got 3 more races left in the season, I think. But the big focus for us at this point is just trying to adapt all of the aero and chassis parts that we have ready for next season. So spending all of those resource points that we've got, trying to adapt all those parts there. The engine components as well, they're starting to wear out a bit, but we've still got a few races left. We've got the Mexico Grand Prix coming up next. We've got 4 races: Mexico, then it's Brazil, and then I think Las Vegas, and then the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix to finish it off. So another 4 races. So we're 3/4 of the way through the season. So just looking at the components and which ones we need to fit. I'm fitting some of the ones we've already used for the next race. I could use all the new parts, but then Abu Dhabi would have some pretty worn out parts at the end there, and I want to make sure that by the last race we're still in a pretty good position, just to guarantee some points in that final race. So we've picked some other parts we've already used in the hopes that we can collect bigger points at the end. Also got a build time upgrade coming into the aero department, as you saw just there. Marketing department giving us some work to do here. We can either go with second driver acclaim or team acclaim and some extra cash. The cash, it's only 15k, it's not that much, so I'm not too fussed about that. But the second driver acclaim, when we're not guaranteed to have the same driver next season, doesn't really appeal to me that much. So we'll go with team acclaim, because the team acclaim is always going to be there. So we'll go with that. Aero department want us to do something as well. Okay, system crash. So we have to either take a drop in Boschung's stats or a drop in aerodynamics morale. I mean, well, Boschung's focus. I mean, yeah, we go with the aero department one because we're not going to be focusing on aero department development at this point for the rest of the season, seeing as we have to adapt those parts. So if we do develop any more parts there, we're just going to have to spend more resource points to adapt them. So we can take the hit in the morale for now because they're not going to be doing that much at this point. Who knows, in the next couple of races or the practice sessions, we may end up getting a change in that perspective and still upgrading some stuff if we get heaps of resource points, which we do from practice here in Mexico. I think we get most of the discounts, pretty much all of the resource points as well. So lots to come from this practice run in Mexico. A tough track. It did take me a little bit of getting used to with this track. I have raced it in F121. I found it hard there too. The racing line takes a little bit of getting used to. As we head into Q1, weather looking okay. It's cloudy, but there wasn't any forecast of rain, or is a very small chance of rain. So I'm not too worried about the rain, but we are still going out as quick as we can into the qualifying session. So this is our second lap in Q1. Our first one, not great. We're sitting P15 at the moment, so still quite a bit of work to do. But by the time we get to the end of Sector 2, we're purple through Sector 2, so the car is handling really well, and we are up 7 tenths on our previous time. Just some missed apexes and just not a very consistent racing line through that first lap. Bit of inconsistency right through the end of the lap, a little bit of hesitancy here into that final corner, and we do lose some time, but we do improve up into 9th position. A nice gain there. By then we're down to 15th again, so we managed to just sneak in to Q2. Our teammate way outside, P22, he's 5 tenths behind De Vries. We are just over a second ahead of our teammate. This car really should be performing better than that, but I mean, he is a rookie driver and this is his first season in F1. And he did only come into the team in the middle of the season, so he's only been here for, what's that, 4 races now? So can't expect much from him. He does get us some good resource points though, and some good discounts, or does help with the resource point accumulation in practice, which helps us out quite a bit. Q2, this is our 3rd lap, so lots of improvements to be made. Still really sort of coming to terms with the racing line and trying to get the car, I'm trying to get a good feel for the setup I've got for the car for this track, and really trying to capitalize on, I guess, our current performance. We do lose a lot of time at that last corner, which seems to be a big problem area. So Q2, not great for us. We end up failing to make it to Q3, and we are P14, which is well below where we have been in previous rounds. Engine parts not really helping us because they're all quite worn, but we're looking to capitalize at the end of the season, so we'll see what we can do here today.
Bienvenidos to the most populous city in North America. The legendary Jim Clark won the first official F1 race back in 1963 here, and we've had a veritable who's who of winners ever since. It's Mexico City, and therefore the Mexico City Grand Prix. The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, 2.6 miles of track that allows drivers to take full advantage of their cars, reaching speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and providing lots of opportunities for overtaking. The circuit features 17 corners, 10 to the right, and the remaining 7 going to the left. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Russell, Norris, Oscar Piastri, Verstappen, Perez, Gasly, Ocon, Fernando Alonso, Albon, Joe, the captain, Stroll, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Bottas, Tsunoda, Sargent, Boschung, and Nick de Vries. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. And with me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about the captain. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Okay, we've got that relief of having points on the board finally, so let's keep that form up and get another top 10 finish today, please.
I wish they would have had more voiceover options for that, because he seems to say that every single time we have a points finish. And we've got like heaps of points. I think we've got like 90 something points. This is our first season. And he's still saying, finally we've got points. But, you know, can't complain. We're doing well in the season, so he can say what he wants, really. Going from doing the, I can't remember what our tyre selection was. I think it was soft to medium as the race has already begun. And I'm still stuck on the fact that our race engineer or team engineer, the guy talking in the air, is still seems to not have that much faith in us as we go around the outside of one of the. We tried to go around the outside of one of the Alpines, and we went wheel to wheel with them, actually making some contact. Well, we managed to get past a few drivers. We've gone from P14 to P10 and make another dive bomb up the inside. And we get 2 more positions there, so a good start from us. Albon and Alonso falling to us in that second overtake. We are now up into the top 10, following along behind Piastri. Car's feeling pretty good at the moment, but it is only the start of the race. But the handling of the car through Sector 2, really, really good. Piastri doesn't give us a whole lot of room to get out over that. We have to go over the curb to get around him there. We make the overtake up into P7 now. No track limits warning or anything like that. No need to give the position back. I guess the stewards thought that we didn't have any other choice. We had to go over that curb to get past Piastri there without causing a collision. Perez just ahead of us on the hard compound tyres. 4 tenths, he's now 5 tenths. He's pulling away from us. Piastri makes quick work of us up the inside on the softs, just like we are, but we are holding on to that gap to him. The apex is being missed on some of these corners. The racing line is very hard for me to keep on this track at the moment. Having a lot of trouble with consistency. We clipped the wall back there a little bit just on that front left tyre, so hopefully no damage to the car itself, to the body or the front wing. We haven't had any notification to say that we've had any damage, but the car doesn't feel so quite as good as it did at the start of the race in lap 1. We do have some issues with tyre wear on this course. I do push the car quite a bit, but we need to be pushing to try and keep up the front of this pack. We are managing to keep up with Piastri though, which is the main thing. DRS activated this lap, so we've got some DRS on him now, and the line through Sector 2 is really it does feel really good. So Sector 2's definitely our strong point. Heading through the stadium section, I've had some issues with the car sort of kicking out at the back, heading into that, or heading out of that apex, that slow left-hander, I should say. We managed to get around the outside of Piastri there. We go off the track, and now we're all over the place. Not a very good exit out of that chicane. And Piastri, we've got DRS, and he's still gaining on us. He shouldn't have DRS on us. I don't know if he'd be using battery this early on in the race, but our pace in a straight line just isn't there at this point. The softs potentially wearing down a bit faster than I would have expected. The engine components will definitely be playing a part in that as well. A lot of our parts in the, I guess, 30 and 40% range in terms of engine wear. It's already showing on MFD as Piastri goes flying past us that we do have an issue with engine components. Something is wearing down. I think it's the MGU-H. It's quite worn, and it's becoming a bit of a warning or an issue part for us at this point. Alonso was trying to make a move back there, but we managed to hold him off, I think. But he is starting to gain on us again, sitting in DRS range to us. Piastri is still just in front of us. We are holding on. He's pulling us along, just trying to duck into that slipstream and get a tow out of him. Not a very good exit there out of that long double apex corner. And Piastri now outside of DRS range. Alonso takes advantage of our poor performance and flies past us, and we are now relegated down to 9th position. Albon right behind us, but not close enough to make a move down into turn 1. Following along behind Alonso now. Hopefully he can tow us along and keep us out of reach of Albon, but Albon is gaining on us pretty quickly here. But we did manage to hold him off. We are 6 laps in, and we are having to fight for our position right now. Losing a ton of time. Alonso is now 3 seconds ahead. The car definitely not where it has been, and we're now having to make a strategy change. 1 lap earlier into the pits to go onto medium tyres, as Ocon now goes flying past us. Albon was behind us, and now Ocon has overtaken not only him but us as well. Albon does get back in front of us, or get ahead of us, not back in front of us, gets ahead before turn 1. And we've lost 2 positions there. We're now out of the points, but it is only early on in this race. Hopefully we can get some better performance out of the car once we go back into the pits and get the mediums. The mediums definitely have been, I think, the strongest compound tyre for us this season. We've been getting some really good results in specific sectors. Overall lap times sometimes have been better as well on the medium. Just seems to handle a lot better. I get a lot more consistency when I'm using those. As Stroll makes a move on us, Gasly gets ahead of us as well, and now Magnussen is in DRS range to us. Lap 10, so we're going to be going into the pits, at the end of this lap. Interestingly enough, Verstappen down in P15, I don't know if he qualified below us, had a really bad qualifying run, or if he qualified ahead of us and he's just had some really bad luck. He can't have qualified ahead of us because we didn't pass him. Unless he had some damage and had to go into the pits early on, I'm not too sure. But the fact that Verstappen is all the way back down at the back of the pack with us is quite interesting. He may also be having the same, I guess, thoughts or strategy in terms of engine components, saving them for the last races of the season. As we collide with the wall a little bit there, no damage again, or at least nothing said, but the car's just not going as quick as I thought it was going in qualifying. It still wasn't flying in qualifying, but I feel like we were going faster in the qualifying sessions and in practice than we have been in this race. But no change to the front wing, nothing like that. So unless it's different body damage, but I didn't see any body damage on the MFD when we were scrolling to earlier. So maybe the setup's just not quite where it should be. Maybe we're focused too much on the handling through the corners, and we've neglected the outright pace too much. We're going to have to just deal with that as we're on the medium tyre now, and it looks like everyone else is going to be heading into the pits this lap and possibly next lap. We are currently P21. Verstappen is in P20. I don't know if that was from the pit change or if he was actually back here before he went into the pits. Well, we went purple through sector 2 on that lap on our first out lap as we managed to get just ahead of Magnussen as he's coming out of the pits up into P17, as it looks like most of the field are now heading onto the mediums. So this should make for a pretty interesting second part of the race. We're almost halfway through the race. We're lap 12 now of 25. So hopefully we can get our tyres warmed up a lot faster than everyone else, and we can get some really good lap times and some good performance out of this car before everyone else starts to get into the groove of using these mediums. Another couple of overtakes there. P13 now, after it looks like the rest of the pack have been into the pits now. Still ahead of Magnussen. Magnussen just inside DRS to us. Verstappen just got overtaken by Tsunoda, so that's not good signs for the Red Bull team, for the current world champion, being overtaken by the AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda, Red Bull's sister team, showing that their car still worth watching at this point. We are making some ground on Gasly, so we're starting to catch up to the Alpines a little bit, not hugely, but we're slowly chipping away at that gap to Gasly. 1.1 second the gap, 1.2. So when we get to the straights, we just don't have the speed on the straights. We've lost 0.3 to Gasly there in that short straight. It also didn't help that the exit out of the corner prior wasn't great. If we'd had a better exit, maybe we would have maintained a better gap to deal with. But that's right. Stroll into the pits now. So Stroll doing a late pit stop. Maybe heading onto the softs. It doesn't look like it. It looks like he's onto the mediums as well. Maybe hoping to have better peak performance towards the end of the race. As George Russell gives us the fastest lap, a 120.7, and his teammate another 120.7. Lewis Hamilton claiming the fastest lap now, and very little difference between the two Mercedes drivers, as we have ourselves a yellow flag. Not sure what the yellow flag is for. Lance Stroll out of this session. I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on, but we'll take a look as he heads through the DRS zone, and he's had an engine failure as soon as he's hit the brakes to get ready for that apex. Doesn't get off the track straight away though, and doesn't always causes too much, but it would be a little bit of a problem there for the AlphaTauri of I do believe that was Yuki Tsunoda there, or maybe it wasn't, maybe it was Daniel Ricciardo, I'm not sure. But Lance Stroll out of this race, so that is not going to help Aston Martin's chances of catching up to us in the constructors. It all falls on Alonso to try and maximise the points here today, as we lose a little bit of focus watching Magnussen go past, and we managed to collect some of the dirt on the side of the track. We get right up alongside Magnussen, little wheel-on-wheel contact there. We managed to push around the outside of that final turn in the chicane to get back in front of Magnussen, and then he makes quick work of us. Just ducks around one side onto the inside and gets through to take P12. We managed to get around the inside, a nice move around the apex of that corner before the double right-hander, and we managed to get back in front of Magnussen and stay there this time. So nice little battle there between ourselves and the Haas driver. On a bit of contact there, Magnussen tried to do a bit of a dive bomb. We went really tight on the apex to try and slow him down, and he's just pushed right into the side of us. No communication about damage or anything there. It doesn't look like his car's damaged at all either. He makes quick work of us. Tsunoda also taking this opportunity to overtake, and we have now dropped another 2 places. We go around the outside of Tsunoda at turn 1, and we managed to claim one back right behind Magnussen, and no DRS for us though, so Magnussen is going to pull away a little bit thanks to the DRS. We go onto the grass again, just too busy focusing on Magnussen and trying to catch up to him. Very late on the brakes, and we don't brake enough, and it messes up our line all the way through that section. Still behind Magnussen, but we've lost so much time now. 7 tenths the difference to Magnussen. We were only like 4 tenths before we got to the second DRS zone. But hopefully we can claw that back here in Sector 2. Maintaining a ton of speed through there. 2 tenths to gap now to Magnussen. So we can claim back all that time that we lose in Sector 1. We can do that in Sector 2. Problem is that once we get to Sector 3, it's just all about inconsistency through these corners and where to go, where to put the foot down and get the power and where to ease off. And we just lose all that time. So going to have to go back and practice that a lot more. Maybe even look at different setups to see if they are going to help there. But we're doing okay. We're P13 and now we're P14. Tsunoda getting back ahead of us well before the braking zone. And we brake really late and we lose all sense of where the racing line is there. And now Tsunoda outside of DRS range. Magnussen now 2 seconds ahead. So just getting a little frustrated and a little impatient and just trying to make moves where we really shouldn't be trying to make moves. We have closed the gap to Max a little bit. We've gained back about 2 or 3 tenths. Tsunoda still pulling away from us, unfortunately. Hulkenberg is now on DRS range of us, and he's closing in very, very quickly. And he gets to us right before the braking zone. We brake a little bit later, give him the space, but he still manages to get through. So we just go way too wide there at turn 1. And we've now dropped down into P15. So everything's going from bad to worse for us. The only consolation we've got at the moment is that Verstappen is 5 seconds behind us back in P17. So it's not looking good for him. So we're not alone in this. It's not just us struggling at the back of the pack in this race. Still struggling for traction. These tyres should be really warm and they shouldn't be worn down that much, but just getting on the throttle way too quickly and just using too much coming out of some of those tight, slow corners. And the back of the car is constantly kicking out at this point. And it's costing us a lot of time, so it's not just the car setup, it's just the ability to be able to handle the car as well. Mexico being a relatively technical track. A lot of slow speed corners, a lot of corners where you have to lead into them from previous corners and you have to maintain the line right through all of them. As Logan Sargent makes the pass on us now, so we're even being passed by the Williams team. Not to take anything away from Sargent as a driver, you know, he's good enough to be in Formula 1, which means that he must be a really good driver. But we haven't had any issues, I think, since the beginning of the season with Williams. So that's a different experience for us now. We've been battling up the front against the likes of Ferrari and Mercedes and Red Bull, McLaren as well to an extent. And now all of a sudden we're being overtaken by AlphaTauri, by Haas, by Williams, Alpine, who were probably one of our main rivals at the beginning of the season. We just overtook them and then had a full-on battle with Aston Martin, and now we're back where we started, got to go back to the drawing board and see what's going on here. I'm hoping it really is just a matter of worn engine components and not a great setup for the race, so that we can have some hope that the rest of the season will go relatively well. But we just got to make do with what we've got. And it looks like Nico Hulkenberg, as it says at the top of the screen, is just retired from this race. We caught a quick glimpse of them on the right hand side of the track. Looks like an engine failure there for the Haas driver. I don't have a replay of what happened with him. He is parked off on the side though, so I would assume that is a engine failure for him. Be a pretty odd place to stop if it was a crash, or a pretty odd place to have a crash anyway. So I would assume it's an engine failure of some sort. Lap 24 now, 2 laps left in this race, and everyone is pulling away from us. It says on the side there that Sargent said that he was a lap ahead of us. He's not. He's 5.5 seconds though, so he's pulled away really easily. And now we have to try and hold off De Vries, who hasn't been performing well this season at all. and he looks to make a move. We try to cut him off, but I don't want to get right from him. He's got way too much speed. And again, braking late. Not doing it for us there. At the other end of the racetrack, though, George Russell, who I think has pretty much led this race from the beginning, is making his way through the stadium section around to the final corner. And George Russell, once again this season, takes the win, claims the Mexico Grand Prix, and I think that's Guan Yu Zhou crossing the line behind him. Here's a lap behind, though. Second place going to the other Mercedes driver, Lewis Hamilton, and then I believe it was Sainz and then Leclerc taking P3 and P4. I could be wrong in that order, but it is a Mercedes 1-2 and then a Ferrari 3-4 by the looks of things. So Mercedes still dominating this season. In terms of the constructors, I'm not sure where Russell stands in terms of the drivers, but we're not too worried about that at this point. What we're worried about is the fact that we just finished P16 after we've had an amazing run of points this season. So definitely something we have to go back and take a look at in the garage.
And Mercedes have pulled off a great victory here today. Well, Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today, but what set them apart from the rest?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners.
So once again, a double podium for the, I don't know how manyth time this season for Mercedes, showing why they are at the top of the Constructors' Championship. Leclerc getting third there, so sorry, I did get it wrong. It wasn't Sainz, it was Leclerc in third and then Sainz in fourth. Still some good points there, Ferrari, though, for their two drivers. Not great for us. We finished P16. Boschung finishes P19 ahead of Zhou Guanyu, but only because Nico Hülkenberg and Lance Stroll both DNF'd. Well, I mean, it says Lance Stroll DNF'd. It says Hülkenberg didn't. It says he finished 3 laps back, but he definitely did DNF. It said he was out of the session. Max Verstappen finishing P17, though. So Verstappen started in 7th and then dropped all the way back behind us. I don't remember passing him. I may have passed him, I'm not sure. Or it could have been damage to the car and he had to go into the pits. But yeah, Max was struggling to get back up through the grid this race. Driver standings, George Russell. So he was in P2 before this race. He is now P1 in the Drivers' Championship with only 3 races left. 6 points clear of Verstappen. Sorry, I got my words mixed up a little bit there. We are in P8, 92 points. So we are right in between the two McLaren drivers. Sitting in a really good position there. P5 in the constructor standing for us. We are 21 points ahead of Aston Martin. Hopefully we can maintain that. Mercedes, 97 points clear of Red Bull. One hand on that Constructors' Championship for Mercedes this season. A really good result next race could give them the championship right then and there. No prize money coming from the sponsors this race for us. Not expecting it with that really poor performance. Interestingly enough, though, 36k in vehicle damages for us this race. So potentially that was causing some issues with our performance today. I'm not going to blame it on, on the car to say that it was the car being damaged that was the problem. And I know that the choosing the worn components was my decision. I did want to try and save the other components so that we've got, decent components through the next 3 races. using brand new components for 4 races at a time. I know that's kind of what they're expecting when they give us 4 of each part, but I thought maybe we could just stretch it out one more race on some of these older parts so that we can get the very best performance in the next, or in the last 3 races of the season. Unfortunately, it meant that we did have a pretty poor performance here today. Also very inconsistent in terms of the racing line and just the ability to drive this track. So a lot of factors there. But we are still 21 points ahead of Aston Martin in the Constructors, which is the main thing. We're not looking to win a Drivers' Championship this season. We're definitely not going to get anywhere near that. But the Constructors is where it's at for us. If we can finish P5, that's just even more prize money for us to help us start off next season. But that brings us to the end of the Mexico Grand Prix. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. It would really help me out a lot. And I'll see you guys, hopefully with a better performance in the next one.